my collaborators in amongst the OMCs, Shri Arun Kumar Singh, CMD of ONGC, Shri Ranjit Rath, CMD of Oil India Limited, captains of industry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start by complimenting the Directorate General of Hydrocarbons and the Director General for convening this meeting, this gathering for interaction between the DGH and the other stakeholders in this important sector of our economy. I would particularly like to thank the DG herself and all those who have made it possible. I have been associated with the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas almost 3 years to the day. Before this 3-year association, I have spent several years with other ministries of the Modi team, and before that, a long 39-year career in the Foreign Service and 6 years in different forms are thereafter in the international think tanking business, or do tanking as we used to call it. But when I look at the state in which we find ourselves today, I cannot think of any bigger challenge that confronts us than the need to ramp up and transform the manner in which we are looking at issues relating to exploration and production. So I think and I hope that this first edition of the Urja Varta, which literally translated means energy dialogue, will provide all of you a forum for thoughtful discussions that further the discourse on India's energy sector. We have introduced many innovations in the last 3 years. We moved the international focus on energy-related issues in a not insignificant way to ourselves. We had the first India Energy Week in Bangalore, the last one in Goa, and the third one coming in February will be in New Delhi. And thereafter it will become a permanent feature in Goa, where we have, thanks to the ONGC, we're producing, or rather developing a 240-acre site, which apart from hosting the India Energy Week, will also provide state-of-the-art, world-class conference facilities. Let me come back to the E&P sector. No matter which way you look at it, it is integral in our journey towards energy self-sufficiency, which is critical for sustained economic growth, and E&P offers investment opportunities at least worth $100 billion by 2030. Having outlined the importance and the potential, I think I would be failing in my duty if I did not underline strongly that despite our progress, much of our exploration and production potential still lies untapped within India's 26 sedimentary basins. I find it particularly discomforting that, considering that we continue to be dependent on crude oil imports to over 85% of our requirements, And despite the abundant geological resources available to us, our efforts in the past have been far short of what needs to be done. It is not my purpose this morning in the keynote address to lay blame. I think if you look at the historical context, when oil prices globally are within manageable range, it is a normal tendency for anyone to turn around and say, why do you want to bother with heavy investments, exploration, when you can just that easily import all your requirements? That was in fact the advice given to me by some quarters when I had the privilege of joining in July 2021. But that is short-sighted advice. Equally, some of my friends in the Fourth Estate, distinguished representatives of different newspapers, they often tell me, why do you want to set up more refining capacity? After all, we are moving away from fossil fuel to green. Oh, yes, everything is correct. But you know, I've been a great admirer of the Fourth Estate because I used to write columns also in the intervening periods. And that's a very comfortable thing to do. You pick up one piece of news here and then you write a column on it. Not knowing that for every piece of news you write a column on, 10 other things opposite are equally true. Yes, I see some of my friends, no, you must allow somebody who's been around for a long time to have a little bit of fun, because otherwise we're at the receiving end. As I said, I'm a great admirer of the Fourth Estate. But then they say, oh, the market is deregulated. Why are you trying to control? Whom is my commitment to? Is my commitment to ensuring availability and affordability to my consumer? Or is it to some doctrine which was produced in some part of the world, and in following that doctrine, I then land up with chaos here? It says with a great sense of pride that I say that as the Honorable Prime Minister's Petroleum Minister, that throughout the pandemic, throughout the last 3 years I've been associated with, not a single shortfall has taken place anywhere. That is what you mean by availability. Contrast that with what is happening around the country, contrast that with what is happening around the world, and you see the stark difference. This is the only country in the world where prices have come down after a reference period. And then when you have, as I said, they're intellectually correct that, you know, there's a little bit of this, then somebody else picks it up and says, oh, prices need come away. If I were to produce all the crude oil or extract it from my own basins, which I hope you guys will do soon, then I would even say that make it available at the lowest possible cost. But life is full of challenges. And I think what stands out as we meet today is that it's your ability to navigate those challenges for the satisfaction of your citizens. That is the challenge. And that, I believe, is a challenge that the Honorable Prime Minister and his team have implemented to the full requirements of that period. Yes, there is global turmoil. When the global turmoil took place, we could have followed self-serving advice which came to us from many parts of the world. Our imports from a particular source was 0.2% of our requirement. We could have shifted the 5 million barrels of crude oil that we consume in a day to the traditional suppliers. And you know what would have happened to oil prices? My friends with their philosophy would have written a nice column in a pink paper. But you know what would have happened? Oil prices would have gone up to $250. So I've been around for a long time. I told you I spent 40 years as a civil servant, 6 years as an international civil servant. or there something like that. Now 7 years as a minister. So I take all this advice which comes with gratitude, because it provides an opportunity for those people who provide the advice to look themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, what is it that they are advising? Whose interests are they serving? Our sedimentary basin is approximately nestled with approximately 651.8 million metric tons of crude oil and 1,138.6 billion cubic meters of natural gas. And this is where we come to our failings. Only 10% of this sedimentary basin is currently under exploration today. After the award of the blocks under the forthcoming OALP rounds, it will increase to 16% by end 2024. While this is good progress, 6% in one go, it is not enough. I wish to use this opportunity to lay down the gauntlet, including my friends at the DGH, to step up. The focus of our exploratory endeavors must pivot towards discovering yet to find resources. And I've had several meetings with the DGH. I'm very happy to hear that they're burning the midnight oil, literally. That's at least what my additional secretary tells me. And that we will see fundamental change in a very short period of time. I'm aware of the various challenges stakeholders are facing, but also of the work needed to streamline operational and regulatory processes. It is important that we provide our labor pool with competitive opportunities, diversify our procurement, and strengthen our engineering operation. The government is doing its part to catalyze investments in E&P. The Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas has instituted sweeping reforms, empowering stakeholders to contribute to our nation's progress. We intend to increase India's exploration acreage to 1 million square kilometers by 2030. No-go areas in India's EEZ have also been reduced by almost 99%. The Open Acreage Licensing Policy, OALP, has accelerated production growth. Through the first 8 rounds, a total of 144 blocks covering approximately 244,000 square kilometers have been awarded. The recently announced OALP 9th round offers an area of approximately 136.596 thousand kilometers, 136,596 square kilometers, spread over 8 sedimentary basins, with the vision of expanding the nation's footprint in offshore exploration. Since its inception in 2015, the Discovered Small Field policy has garnered investments of approximately $2 billion and brought in 29 new players in the field. The recent special DSF bid round presents fresh opportunities in Mumbai offshore and West Bengal. The opening up of the erstwhile no-go areas has paved the way for exploration activities in previously restricted zones, fostering investments notably in regions such as the Andamans. The government is spending heavily on promoting scientific, data-driven exploration. An investment of 7,500 crores is going into the acquisition of new seismic data, including that of the EEZ, financing stratigraphic wells, and acquiring aerial survey data for difficult terrains. We now have geoscientific data for the Kerala Konkan basin and the Mumbai offshore basin on the west coast, and the Mahanadi and Andaman basins in the east coast. DGH is upgrading the National Data Repository to a cloud-based NDR, which will enable instant dissemination of seismic, well, and production data. I was following up why it hasn't been done yet, and now I have been assured the work order will be placed within 1 month. Ease of doing business is a key consideration that attracts investments into the E&P sector. This government has facilitated a tectonic shift through the revenue sharing contract policy, which abandoned cumbersome approval processes in the earlier production sharing contracts. We simplified 37 processes requiring approvals into 18 processes, of which 9 were put up for self-certification. it needs to be taken further. We must examine whether we can move to total self-certification. Any delay in approval of field development plan, annual plans and other regulatory permission is minimal as our import dependency is rising. Let me put this somewhat simply. Yes, the contractor has a role to play. He has to provide information. But whilst that process is going on, I don't see why work needs to come to a stop. And there's no reason why these permissions should be pending for extended period of time. I have been assured by the Director General that, in fact, they are already compiling a list of what the pendencies are, why the delays are, and how to rectify them. DGH was established in 1993 to provide technical advice to the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas on issues relevant to the exploration and development of hydrocarbons in India. In today's scenario, DGH needs to change its mindset and be more proactive with the stakeholder in resolving the impending issues in national interest. I have been a civil servant for 39 years, and I can tell you there is one trait which comes naturally to a civil servant. Give him a file, and the civil servant will look at 20 ways on how to exercise regulatory control. Not a bad thing in some cases where things are going wrong. But if you start mistaking your role as that of a regulator instead of a facilitator, then you'll end up with a large number of regulators. I can see my friends in the private sector having a good laugh at the back, but that's a reality. But we're changing that. I respond to all communications, including from trolls, almost immediately. Sometimes I don't respond personally because I don't want to dignify them. But I don't think you've ever had a situation where the ministry is so responsive. And I'm sure that DGH is very much part of it and we will change that and very soon. I want to tell all those who are present today that we are committed to supporting E&P. We will not tolerate inordinate delays by any organization. Second, I have instructed the technical staff of DGH and MOPNG to have closer interaction with operators, visit the field more often, develop a better understanding of the ecosystem in which operations are conducted, and DGH shall approve all annual work program budgets prior to the financial year to provide contractors to execute their activities in a time-bound manner. I am glad to announce the formation of a joint working group comprising representatives from the private E&P operators, the national oil companies, my ministry and DGH. It will examine issues relating to the ease of doing business in E&P, adequacy of policies and procedures, and the need for their revision. It will submit its recommendations within 8 weeks. Now, I know we have members of the press here. Please count 8 weeks starting today. So today we are on 11th of July. So very soon we'll have the report, and we will not only focus on this, but this is an opportunity for us to really press on the accelerator and going fast forward. Fourth, I am also directing the DGH to complete the process of integration of its various online portals by the end of the year. Recently, extended reach drilling was exempted from the Forest Conservation Act. ERD technology enables drilling of extended horizontal wells, thus offering significant advantages to E&P operations by allowing access to previously unreachable reservoirs, reducing the number of drilling sites, thereby minimizing the impact on the environment. For offshore blocks, the government has decided to award exploratory licensing along the signing of the contract. MOPNG is constantly pursuing the issue of clearances with relevant agencies of individual state governments. DGH has deputed 14 professionals in Assam, Tripura, and Arunachal Pradesh to assist state governments to expedite proposals received from E&P operators for various statutory clearances. The government formed the Committee of Eminent External Experts to offer an alternative dispute resolution mechanism. 25 disputes which were pending for more than 10 years have now been settled amicably. And it intent and resolve that so will be the remaining disputes and any future disputes which arise. As we inaugurate this first edition of Urja Varta, I encourage stakeholders from across the industry to leverage this forum's resources. I have high expectations for the Center for Hydrocarbon Efficiency and New Energy. This new department will prioritize hydrocarbon efficiency through carbon capture, utilization and storage initiatives, and will monitor flaring, venting, and leakages in oil and gas operations. It also aims to develop projects which integrate new geological energy sources such as geothermal and natural hydrogen into existing E&P operations. I will also be inaugurating the Exhibition Gallery and Innovation Center after this inaugural session. It showcases technical papers and presentations from the industry and academia on a range of salient issues in the oil and gas sectors. I urge all of you to visit it and contribute to the discourse. I extend my best wishes to everyone gathered here today. And thank you, Director General, for this initiative, and a very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you very much.